Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches. And today I'm going to be talking about the 1988 TV miniseries Jack the Ripper. And the show is set in London in 1888. Chief Inspector Frederick Aberline of Scotland Yard is assigned by his superiors to investigate the murder and brutal mutilation of a prostitute in Whitechapel, which is a notorious criminal rookery in the city's East End. There proved to be no shortages of suspects for Aberline and his partner, Sergeant George Godley, to investigate. There's also no shortage of victims. The initial murder to which Aberline is assigned is believed to be the third by the same culprit, and two more women are slain and mutilated as the inspector pursues his investigation. Said investigation is complicated by the public outcry over the savage crimes and by Aberline's often contentious relationship with his superiors. Can the inspector overcome these obstacles to find the killer? Well, in the real world, of course, the answer was no. 11 separate murders stretching from the 3rd of April 1888 to the 13th of February 1891 would collectively become known to the Metropolitan Police of London as the Whitechapel murders, and 5 of those are widely believed to be the work of a single killer known to history as Jack the Ripper. This account of the Ripper and the men pursuing him was produced to coincide with the 100th anniversary of the Whitechapel murders, and the producers went to great lengths to play up the show's supposedly rigorous investigation of the crimes as well as the centennial timing. In fact, the show originally screened on British television in October 1988 on the 100th anniversary of some of the original events. The series features Michael Caine as its leading man in a performance that won him a Golden Globe. Caine is supported by a cast of mostly British and Irish actors of considerable ability, and also by Jane Seymour and Armand Assante. So clearly the show had money behind it and plenty of talent on the screen, so it has to be at least pretty good, right? Well, alas, no. Despite the cast's best effort, it's really not. And this is pretty much entirely due to the script. So let's get the biggest problem out of the way right off the bat. At the beginning of each part of this miniseries, a voiceover informs us in rather self-important tones that the show is the result of meticulous research and unprecedented access to official files. This is complete poppycock. The show is utter nonsense, riddled with factual errors and presenting an utterly implausible culprit for the crimes. The ostentatious claims to authenticity can be quickly dispelled via the magic of Google and were widely criticised even at the time of release. The writer was ultimately forced to retract them, though the voiceover remained in the show. The programme's errors and inventions are numerous, ranging from the slight, it shows bloodhounds being used in the investigation which do not actually happen, to the significant, such as whole cloth inventing the idea that lead investigator Frederick Aberline had a contentious relationship with his superiors, or in depicting a sober and well-regarded man of business as a frothing anarchist revolutionary. But most importantly, there's the fact that the man who the show tells us was the Ripper was a 70-year-old stroke victim at the time of the murders. Not only is this prima facie nonsense, but it is drawn directly from the 1976 book Jack the Ripper, The Final Solution, that had, a decade before this show came out, been openly confessed as based on a hoax. And while it is true that many fictional accounts of the Ripper murders have had similarly implausible explanations of the culprit's identity, they have at least had the decency to present themselves as fiction rather than purporting to be telling the true story. So if you're looking for the real story of the Ripper murders, you're going to be disappointed. But with that set aside, if you just watch this as a period murder mystery, is it any good? Well, no, it's not. The problems with the show are far deeper than just its lack of accuracy to history. The writing is nonsense in other ways as well. As a case in point, the show depicts Inspector Aberline being faced with some sort of deliberate and active effort to thwart his investigation. Crime scenes are ordered cleaned immediately before he can inspect them, hearings are called before he can assemble evidence, and so on and so forth. Clearly there is some conspiracy against him, but why? Is it rivalry within police force? This seems unlikely, since it starts before his rivals even know he's on the case. Is it a conspiracy to protect the culprit, who the show claims was a person of considerable importance? That relies on a network of people who know who the murderer is, something the script makes no attempt to make plausible. I suspect these elements are a relic of the conspiracy theories espoused in Jack the Ripper, The Final Solution. That book made the Ripper murders part of an elaborate conspiracy to cover up a secret marriage between the second in line to the throne, Prince Albert Victor, to a working-class woman. The show has jettisoned that explanation in favour of dementia, which it is true can lead to violent impulses, but possibly did so partway through the writing process and then didn't do a proper job of cleaning up references to those now abandoned elements. So the series is no more successful as entertainment than it is as history. In fact, the most interesting things about the program have little to do with the on-screen product. Instead, they are to do with the details of the show's production. Jack the Ripper was originally planned to be produced on a relatively low budget, with interior photography shot on videotape and location footage shot on 16mm film. English actor Barry Foster was cast to play the lead, and filming actually commenced in October 1987, but was halted before Christmas when US network CBS became interested in the project. Most of the original cast and crew were paid off, and the production acquired a much more generous $11 million budget. It would now be shot entirely on 35mm film and feature much more recognisable names that would help sell it in the United States, thus the involvement of Michael Caine and Jane Seymour. The show restarted filming in February '88, and director David Wicks was determined that as few people as possible should know who would be unmasked as the killer. To this end, he shot no less than 4 different endings, none of which featured the real culprit. He then filmed a scene with the real killer being mistakenly accused, and edited footage from that together with footage from the dummy endings to produce the real conclusion. Which is an impressive dedication to obfuscation. Makes me wonder what he might have accomplished if only he'd thought anywhere near as much effort into putting together a coherent, plausible, or entertaining story. So, next time, something a bit better, because it's time to put on makeup, it's time to dress up right. And by that I mean like a pirate, as we venture to the Muppet Treasure Island. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.